Hello, everyone. My name is Madison Haggio, and for my senior capstone, I decided to focus on how personal growth is essential for Gen Z specifically. A little overview about me. My name is Madison. I am currently a four-year student here at West Oahu. I graduated from Mililani High School back in 2020. At West Oahu, I am a creative media student with a concentration in new media technologies and communications. To start off, my plans for the senior capstone is, to put it short, is a documentary style video essay to sort of detail the experience of personal growth through multiple individuals' unique experiences through interview style um, questionnaires. Um, my thesis statement, to sort of sum that up, is that personal growth is a unique experience that we all go through, but specifically for Gen Z, it's a fundamental building block that can ultimately push individuals to adapt, thrive, and create deeper connections in our constantly changing world. Um, some of my main objectives for my research conducted is to.
Madison, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I think it's just showing the first slide. I don't know if you have it in presenter mode or something, but
Oh,
we're not
sorry.
seeing it. Not seeing you go through the various slides.
Sorry about that.
It looks like on our side it's frozen on your arrow on slideshow, like it didn't actually show the slideshow.
Oh, let me see if I can re-share that. It should be on the executive summary page. Can we all see that now? Perfect. Thank you for letting me. Um, Going back to the objectives, I wanted to showcase how understanding personal growth is essential for human life, but specifically, again, Gen Z, because it can cultivate a further and deeper understanding of not only Gen Z individuals themselves, but also sort of help them develop that empathy towards others and their communities as well. Through my project, I think that the significance of my proposed project is just the fact that having a video format is more of a um intimate lens, and I think giving that visual look into the importance of personal growth can kind of resonate a little deeper with audiences. Going into my thesis statement again, it's sort of just highlighting how personal growth is something that we all go through again, but specifically for Gen Z, I think that it's particularly more important for younger adults to realize the importance of, because it's something that we need to really hold close to ourselves. We really need to learn how to adapt in an environment today that's so technologically advanced, and there's so many complex ideas thrown out in the world today. So I think that having our younger generations realize why personal growth is important will help them to have a deeper connection to our world and to have that fundamental building block to help them thrive in our communities today. So through my documentary style video essay, I think detailing the experiences of um different individuals will sort of make my project to not seem as repetitive in a way, because personal growth is such a specific path that we all go through. I think not everyone has the same linear path when in terms of our own growth experiences. So I think having that detailed through different interviews and just having different individuals detail what personal growth means to them will show my audience it can how personal growth can really benefit us and how understanding it can help us thrive in not only things like our careers, but things like building relationships with others as well. So, for my actual plan, going more into detail about what my project will be, I wanted to highlight the importance of personal growth and emphasize the idea that everyone experiences personal growth differently. I think through the documentary style video, again, it'll be a little bit more intimate and personal. So I think it'll touch audiences deeper and allow for the stories to be told um, a little bit more directly and just give each of my participants an opportunity to share their stories instead of it just being focused on maybe one person's story and making that seem like that's the norm when, again, personal growth is so different for everyone. So I think having different experiences will kind of showcase how not everyone might be on the same path despite maybe being the same age or despite being the same gender. I think it really just differs depending on the person. Going into the significance of my actual topic, I first chose to highlight that Gen Z is said to be the generation of identity. And I think adaptability in our constantly changing world has become particularly essential when exploring the limits of personal growth. Some of my future implications when it comes to that specific point of significance is how taking on new experiences, such as careers and building relationships and personal beliefs, can become introspective to an individual. So I think that just makes our paths, again, a little bit more personal and a little bit more significant when it comes to specific individuals. I think not only focusing on how personal growth can affect how we thrive in a career. So let's say, for an example, in this day and age, how everything is so technologically advanced within jobs today, I think being able to be adaptable and flexible in that sense sort of highlights why, again, personal growth is so important. On the other hand, establishing relationships can become important because with things like the pandemic back in 2020, we were so dependent on technology that I think a lot of us fell out of touch, especially for Gen Z. So building those face-to-face connections has become a lot more difficult when it comes to adapting to to a world that's so constantly changing. Sort of building off from that note, my second significance that I chose was the fact that Gen Z grows up in such a largely digital age. So establishing those deeper connections and authentic relationships has become a crucial part of the personal development for Gen Z specifically. Some future implications when it comes to this point of significance is that although those said advancements in technology, such as, let's say, social media, so applications like TikTok and Instagram, has given Gen Z the platform to, yes, have easier ways of communication, but cultivating those lasting relationships and connections has, I think, become increasingly more difficult for Gen Z through that digital lens because having face-to-face conversations is something that has fallen out of norm, I would say, specifically since the pandemic. Um, so I think personal growth tactics such as fostering emotional intelligence can help Gen Z to understand one another better and can just help them to understand our environment better as well. Going into the actual data of in relation to personal growth in Gen Z. I chose this study from the American Psychological Association back in 2018. They had conducted some research based on the differences between Gen Z compared to older generations when it comes to stress causing symptoms of mental health related problems. In the first slide titled Mental Health of Gen Z, this reports the answers back to reporting if they have excellent or very good mental health. As you can see, for Gen Z, they have the lowest percentage, meaning they were the generation to report the worst levels of mental health compared to other generations. In the graph titled Gen Z Seeking Help, this reported their likelihood of reaching out to health professionals in regards to mental health related problems. Gen Z, although um, they had reported having the lower levels of mental health, they tended to answer back that they would go back to ask for help when it comes to mental health. So I think that in relation to personal growth, mental health is something that really resonates with Gen Z specifically, because I think that, again, we're the generation of identity. So I think that we tend to be a little bit more in touch with wanting to have that self-exploration and to sort of be able to um, understand our emotions better, I would say. Another set of data from that same study back in 2018, this one specifically details the common stressors or sources of those mental health related symptoms. So I thought that this was important to add on top of the other graphs, because it sort of showcases that or it kind of goes back to that idea of how adapting in our constantly changing world in terms of things like work. So for example, work was a pretty large common stressor for Gen Z adults. So I think having that adaptability is something that has become a little bit more important and maybe fell a little heavily on Gen Z's shoulders. In addition to those common stressors, there's also a poll based on personal sources specifically for Gen Z. So things like personal issues like not getting along with others, personal housing, things like that, I think are also areas to cover when it comes to the experiences everyone goes through with personal growth. This sort of just showcases how not everyone might be having issues with the same sources. So not everyone might say that work is their common stressor. Some might say that personal debt is. So I think having this showcase sort of shows how everyone's experiences are a lot more different than we might think it is. My target audience when it comes to my project is going to be specifically Gen Z. However, I would say that the material could really resonate with older generations as well, considering the fact that we all do have our own personal growth paths, no matter what age. So I think specifically teens and young adults, so that's anywhere from the age of 13 at the youngest to 25, I would say, just because that's the target age range for Gen Z. But I also think anyone who is maybe a self-help speaker or are leaders or educators could really resonate with this, as well as I think maybe audiences such as teachers could resonate with personal growth and could help their students along the way when they come to them with questions regarding personal growth or regarding anything that relates to their growth journey as an individual. My proposed solution in terms of my project and what I want to get across with my topic is that everyone experiences personal growth and everyone's journey is different in their own ways. The older we get, I think it becomes more and more important to value the lives we have and to sort of be able to live life to the fullest, no matter however much time we have. I would hope that this project would inspire those beliefs and demonstrate the value in growth and accepting each experience we have, whether that be our positive experiences or our negative experiences. For my project, I would first start in the pre-production process. So that would be contacting individuals that I know to participate in the interviews. I would storyboard and schedule filming days and locations first to sort of have a good foundation to build off of. I would also want to be able to gather any necessary equipment I would need to film and record audio for these interviews. In terms of the actual production, I would film the interviews and edit the clips and audio as needed. So that would be, I would say, anywhere between 1 to 2 weeks long of a process. And for post-production, I would share my videos to social media. So maybe uploading it to a website like YouTube because I would want my video essay to be maybe max 10 minutes long. So maybe 5 to 10 minutes long is what I'm shooting for. So I think YouTube would be the best platform to share it on in terms of the length of the video. Um, and then I would also obviously finalize any changes in the videos if needed. Just any final preparations I would need to make sure that I deliver a good final project. I have a couple of examples in terms of my deliverables that I would like to share for this project. So my first is this video essay from the user, the Ash Files on YouTube. Um, they they have a lot of videos that are really just short video essays with some aesthetic B-roll footage that I thought were pretty that would be beneficial in terms of my own project.
Somewhere you lost yourself. One day you wake up and realize you're stuck in a life that doesn't even feel like yours. It starts small. You tell yourself you'll settle for good enough, just for now.
So, just looking at that very shortly, I think that having those B-roll footage and the voiceover would be nice to include in my video essay, just so that there's something constantly showing throughout my video and it's not just interviews, because I wouldn't want it to look more like a podcast, if that makes sense. I would want it to include the voiceover of my interviews and the stories being told, but also having some sort of imagery to go along with that interview. For my second example, I really liked this sort of short documentary that I found on TikTok. I specifically like the use of text and just the filming style in general, how it was sort of just a documentary style filming of the individual at hand. So things like that use of text at the beginning, I really liked just to add to the video. And I'm gonna skip to a specific time in this um example just to show how I really like the use of, again, having clips showing, but I like that the voiceover um sort of blended into multiple clips. It wasn't necessarily the audio from that specific clip. It was like the audio from a different clip playing over another, which I think is a popular way of editing within documentaries.
Today's the day.
Today
It feels different because it's this one place the whole year. So I'm at home with my husband, and it's also like there's nothing better than Broadway. This is my favorite piece of fan art someone ever made me because I feel like it just looks just like me. This is my other favorite fan art someone ever gave me. This is from Bill Humans, who plays Dr. Dillivance. He did this for me.
So I think throughout my project, I would want to have a numerous amount of camera angles just to be able to capture that documentary-esque feel, instead of it just being a one-point perspective, if that makes sense. And for my last example, it is another video essay style video I found on YouTube, but I liked the beginning of this video specifically because it began with that, similarly to the first example, it started with that aesthetic B-roll type of montage, but then cut to regular footage. So I think I would like to envision my project as incorporating both um, clips of the interview at hand, but also incorporating B-roll footage.
Madison, we might want to wrap it up just because we've got 5 minutes left for Q&A.
Okay. So I think just having that, so the aesthetic B-roll imagery in the beginning and then sort of cutting into just the regular footage is something that I sort of envisioned, along with their use of text, so similar to the last one, just having little text blurbs, I think would be a good addition to my actual project. And I think that's all I have to cover in terms of the actual project. So if there were any questions, I am open to answering any.